Hopefully we are live. Hopefully everybody can hear us. I know I've got some Christmas music on in the background. We'll turn that down just a hair. It is the Christmas show. Obviously, I think this is our third one. Would it not be? Or our second one?
Second one.
I know I've been on for 3. I don't think I met you quite at that point. Let me kill the sound on the other channel here. So we can still hear the Christmas music there. I don't know if you can hear it on your end, Dom, or not, but...
yeah, it plays nice and subtle in the background.
I don't want it too loud. It's going to end up playing into something else. But hopefully everybody is doing well. I think you know the gentleman next to me, and I can't believe he wore the same outfit. You have the same outfit there, Dom?
What are you wearing?
You have on?
What are you wearing there?
But the green kills it. I didn't think about that.
Well, but see, this is the way you could tell us apart, because you have...
Oh, well, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you have a gray border, and I have a green border.
Well, it's the green screen. I didn't think about that.
So yeah, that's right. So yours probably is green then.
Yeah, I could have put a different color behind me. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but Don, that's the only way they're going to be able to tell us apart tonight.
Yeah, the night of the twins.
That's right.
Hang on 1 second there. I got like 3 things running here. It is that time of the year again, as we all know. Hopefully everybody's at least seen The Sound of Music and knows what the title is from. I'd be hard-pressed to say anybody around here hasn't heard it, at least in my house. Julie Andrews, A Few of My Favorite Things. I think we're literally going to be talking about today, and we'll let Dom start it off here, Bo, but we'll be talking about some of the favorite things that we get into with reselling. It doesn't have to be something specific. It can be items, it could be categories, but there's a lot of things that are the favorite thing I like to do, and it all has to do with reselling. So we'll let Dom introduce himself again, aka Primetime Treasure Hunter, very good close friend of the channel. You got to be watching him if you haven't. I do have links down below in the comment section. There's also a link to his channel right down directly in the description box as well, and I didn't remember to open it up. Dom, I'm sure, can pop his link into the feed as well, but we'll let Dom take it over for a minute here and go from there.
Well, I'm just realizing, because this has been a brutal week. It's been just so busy, so crazy, that I'm not as shaved as I normally am. So with the Santa hat on, I'm starting to look more and more like Kris Kringle. So,
you know, I didn't notice that until you said that. I always have a something usually, so yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Or maybe you know, one of my favorite Christmas shows is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the whole Yukon Cornelius. I'm starting to look like Yukon Cornelius.
You just need that big coat and his little pike, his little climbing pike.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I grew up watching that. You know, they just had an auction. I think it was, I saw something on Tested about it, but they had an auction and they actually auctioned off some of the puppets, the animatronic figures from that movie, actually. They went for some big buck money on those. I'd love to have had one, though. I grew up, I remember that so fondly. Hopefully everybody else does, too, but... I was talking with the wife about, she hated the Charlie Brown, but I have some memories when I was like 5, 6 of watching the Charlie Brown Christmas, and it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. I don't know about you, but I remember that.
I love those things when they came out. I'm sure a lot of people in the chat did. In fact, funny you mention that, because the other day I was flipping around on Netflix. We were just sitting around, I was doing some listings and stuff, and Mrs. Primetime's like, you know, put something Christmas on. So I went to look on Netflix. It was horrible. It was all brand new stuff. They had no classics on whatsoever. So I just went and I scrolled through the regular, you know, guide on cable, and I landed on the Charlie Brown Christmas special, and we were both like, you know, that felt just right at home, perfect. So we put that on, we watched that, and I love all those old ones, man. I love the, you know, like you said, there was the Peanuts Charlie Brown Thanksgiving show, the Great Pumpkin. I love all that Peanut stuff and all those animatronics and puppets and stuff. I've always been fascinated with that, and that probably we have a shared fascination with that, and like we also like the old Harryhausen movies with the monsters, where he would do the stop
Seventh Voyage of Sinbad.
Yeah, the Sinbad movies and stuff, which is amazing.
The skeleton combat scene in there was one of my favorites as a kid.
That's a total classic. Yeah. So I love that stuff. But yeah. So for those of you who don't know, My name's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter, and Don and I share a love and a passion for vintage and collectible items, particularly paper items. We just go crazy over that kind of stuff. Smalls, stuff in bulk. We just love so much of the same stuff, and that was a big part of what led Don and I to connect a few years ago. We did our first Christmas special last year. I passed him some eggnog through the screen. That was a very memorable moment. So, fortunately, I don't have some with me now. But so we've had a lot of fun together. We've done a lot of shows together, and I always look forward to this show because it's kind of like our end of the year wrap up, and it's a good way to just again connect with everyone in the audience and reflect a little on the year too, I think.
Yeah, I see. We'll call out some names. I don't want to forget anybody, but I had some chalkware comments this week here from like 6 different people, and I see someone has it in the chat here. Let me just throw this out there. You can repair almost any chalkware figure out there, and I've repaired tons of them. Even when they're broken in pieces, you can fix those. So just shout that out there for those who are. In fact, if I had a minute, I'd walk off and show you a chalkware piece that I got up here now, but. Christmas time for a reseller, in my opinion, I've never had a Christmas off until I was a reseller. Ever in my life had I ever had a Christmas off. And that's with working at Disney for 10 straight years. I still didn't have the seniority to get a Christmas off. So one of my favorite things is having Christmas off. Dom might be a little different because of, facilities aren't usually open. I would imagine you have Christmas time off, but if you work in foods, you work every holiday. If you work in retail, you work every holiday. Even as a general or regional manager, you usually get stuck working. So, but let's talk about nicer. Let's talk about some Christmas related things that go on. Christmas time. One of my favorite parts about Christmas time as a reseller is that I get more offers for things that people want to sell. People need the money for Christmas. So we've been lucky enough to have acquired more than our share of inventory. And so at this time of year, this year especially, I've had more offers than ever before, even more offers than I get in summer. So one of my favorite things is getting cool antiques and collectibles. So I guess that's where that's one of my favorite things, I would say. So anything vintage, cool collectibles, again, as Dom said, that's why we do talk and we do stuff together. We both like similar, if not identical things, especially in comic book lines and stuff. I just love finding 10-cent comic books, nickel comic books, whatever I can get my hands on. I know Dom does. He probably went out this past weekend. Did you go to the flea market this past weekend, Dom?
No, I actually never go to the flea. They do have the flea market is open. This one area, although I don't even know if it's open right now because they literally took over the flea market sheds that they have for COVID testing. So I don't even know if it's if that flea market one is even available anymore. But I never go over the wintertime. I usually go to estate sales. There have been fewer estate sales. I've been doing more bulk buys online, and also I've had a couple of people responding to some ads. I did that recent haul on the comic books, and also the one on the stamp collection, which was fun. Duncan's been talking about it a little bit in the chat. He sent me some good information about them. And I know, Don, you do a lot with stamps. For me, it's a newer area. It was not something I ever got into. I'm starting to realize a little more going through it, why some people like to collect them and stuff. So it's been a fun new area for me to get into.
I love stamps, I have to say. Literally since I was like 7 or 8, I've had stamps. My father gave me his collection, and as well as his comics and a whole bunch of other stuff. I love stamps. It's like a piece of artwork in almost every single one. The value, oh my gosh, the value. We've bought stamps like at shows and things like that. And if you know certain things like grills and watermarks and certain varieties and the colors on some, man, you can go to a stamp show and sometimes out of their cheaper bins find some good stamps. Not usually, but I do find them. Some of the best purchases I've made have been stamps. I mean, I don't know anywhere else you can sell a little tiny piece of paper like this for like $4,000, which is a very doable number in our business. You know, I love stamps. Yeah, and I did see your video on that too. I love finding big bins and stuff of them.
Yeah.
We have a steady stream of, I buy stamps at face value, just common stamps. And then I've got there's a company out there that buys them, and then they turn around and resell them at a little bit of a profit in quantity, and they'll sell them to people to use as stamps. So, I mean, we pay 30 to 50% of face value. And we've bought like $1,000 of face value. I don't know how many times from people, collections or businesses that are going under. That's always an area. Even if you don't know your old stamps, I always am able to sell the chunkers, the like 3-cent sheets, 1-cent sheets,
Right.
2-cent sheets at you know, I buy them 30 to 50 cent or 50% on face, and we sell them for 70 to 75%. Unless you just want to dump them off, you can get 60% from some businesses and be done with them. I love stamps. I honestly do. I know Kathy and Duncan do as well too.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't realize. I mean, I knew Duncan did stamps. I did not know that Kathy did. And I was amazed at the reception to the video that I did on it, because I thought that there wouldn't be that much interest or so, but I just put it up to be realistic about something I found. And a whole bunch of stamp collectors came in to comment on it, who are not even really resellers, just stamp collectors. So I got to meet a lot of people through that. I got a lot of great advice, both in the video and also outside of it, people sending me messages. And as I've been going through it, I mean, for me, you know, the best thing I could relate it to, Don, when I was a kid, you probably were too, right? Fascinated with sticker books. Remember the baseball sticker books?
Never had them.
You never had those, or like the pop culture sticker books where you get the sticker
Panini
pack?
or Panini or whatever the brand is.
Yeah, Panini.
No,
but what about Topps? Topps had them too.
I had the Topps, the Marvel, the second Marvel's first series of stickers came out in what, 66, 65, 66. In 73, I think, was the second one, and they were still in the stores when I was a kid. So I used to buy the Marvels, but I'd never take the stickers off. I would never, ever peel the stickers and stick them on anywhere. I wanted the card because I was fascinated by the artwork. When Star Wars came out, that's when I started collecting a ton of everything, and it just blew my mind. So, I mean, I had all my toys, you know, till I was in my 20s, and we found eBay, and that's when I ended up selling them. But I mean, I was floored away. I used to sneak out. I saw Star Wars. Geez, I snuck out as a kid. I was 8, and we walked like 2 miles to the movie theater in the summer and watched it like 3 or 4 times without my mom knowing. I mean, that's how much I was into Star Wars back in those days.
Wow.
I couldn't draw myself to peel the sticker off. I couldn't do it. I made my mom buy the Wonder Bread for the cards and all that kind of stuff too.
No, I was fascinated with it. The Topps baseball card stickers. If anyone in the chat used those, let me know. Maybe Carl would use them. And I remember, it's so funny, some of the things you remember from when you were a kid. And I was so fascinated. I wanted to see, for me, Don, the obsession was to complete the book. You know, collectors are completists. So for me, that's what I wanted to do. And there was, you know, I keep getting all these packs, and there were these very select stickers that were just very hard to find. I couldn't complete the book. And so one day, one of my cousins, like a second cousin, older cousin, went out and bought a big complete box of stickers. Now, I was used to just getting, like, you know, buying 1 or 2 for 25 cents, like packs. So to get a complete box of stickers, it was the first time in my life that I'd ever received something like that in bulk. And I was just completely like overjoyed by it. And I just sat there all day, opened every single one of those packs, eventually filled up the book, and I loved it. And then I also collected cards as well. But, you know, as I've been going through these stamp albums, it's interesting to me because they kind of remind me of sticker books, and they kind of are in a way, I guess, because, you know, a stamp is, you know, it has a sticky adhesive part on the back where you could stick it on to something. A lot of people do fill up their stamp books with, you know, by taking them and putting them in there. And I thought it was cool how they'll match up to the image. And then sometimes in some of the stamp books, they'll actually tell you some interesting historical facts related to the stamps, which I think is cool. Like, that's the part to me that, you know, I really enjoy. I'm not much of an artist myself, unlike you. I mean, I wish I could, but I can't draw. I could barely draw a stick figure. So I'm not, I mean, I appreciate art. I love art, but I'm just personally not great at it or anything. But so that really was the thing that I thought was interesting about the stamps. But besides that, besides like learning historical things, filling up albums, appreciating the art, are there other reasons why people love collecting stamps and buy millions of them?
Well, stamps, like in 1893, the Columbian Exposition came out. That was a big World's Fair in Chicago. They issued the first commemorative stamps. Now, commemorative stamp was something made not to be used, and that's, people collected them before that, but that's when the heyday of the American, now not British is different because the penny black, the first stamp in the world was from England. So England has a different history, but the US, the massive amount of collections started in 1893 because they issued from 1 cent, the 1 cent blue, all the way up to a $5 stamp that was just made for somebody to collect, basically. And a commemorative stamp is a non-issue. It's a specialty stamp. I mean, the quantities were usually, it's like a commemorative coin. The quantities were smaller, and it started with an event, and that's after that a lot of the commemoratives were to honor a event, like the National Park series. They issued them in commemorative sheets. They issued them in imperf 6-block stamps of many of different varieties. You can get them imperf, gutter pairs, and I mean the variety of stamps was so great. That was like one of the earliest collectibles that I would say that was designed to be a collectible that our government made. The coins were used other than the commemoratives, but the commemorative aspect, I think, is where it took off. I mean, a lot of my father's collection was commemoratives, 1893 and on up, because they were literally hoarded by people for that reason. I love not just the artwork, but the feel, the look, the history, what's tied to them, the images on them. And the most common is the 2 cent Columbian Exposition commemorative stamp. That's the most common commemorative first issue commemoratives there is. And they all picture one of the buildings from the event. So if you are a World's Fair collector, you want every one of those, just like buttons. Everything like that, I'm in the buttons. Everything like this has another feel to it. So you can find covers with cachets that have no bearing on a stamp, but the cover itself is Columbian Exposition. I just sold a button for like $175 it was the Chicago Rolling Chair Company, and it was one of the rides at the 1893 World's Fair. So they all are tied together, all this kind of stuff that they make. It's basically like a souvenir issued by the government to gain money, because most people wouldn't spend these. They would keep a lot of them. So that's my take on it. And I've read quite a few books on it, at least on the American side. I'm fascinated by the history in the whole works of it. I love, like 1847 is the first U.S. stamp, the first 2, Benjamin Franklin and Washington. I own one of those, one of each of those. That was like my prized collection stamps when I first got those. I was proud to have them in my collection. It's just like the stamp, just like the sticker books you're talking about. I did the same thing with stamps. I would go to stamp shop. I played baseball, but I was never into watching it or following players, so I never got into that. I always was into the non-sports cards. Hanna-Barbera were in the Wonder Bread card, or in Wonder Bread in 1976. 77 Star Wars came out in Wonder Bread, the bread. And then 78, you had Close Encounters and Battlestar Galactica. That changed my whole thing as I figured out they had cards out. I never knew they had cards until 76. I never knew what, my parents never took me to places like that. I never, I was lucky to get certain things certain times of the year. And, so for me, I was a little bit sheltered in some of that area. But the whole aspect of it's just amazing and historical to me. I mean, holding something that was first issued in 1847 as the first ever U.S. stamp is just, if you find one in the wild for a couple bucks, it's an amazing feeling. I couldn't get rid of it. Even if I had 10 of them, I'd keep every one I found, because it's that much. That's just me. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. No, it's cool. So there's a historical appreciation too of it. So that's neat. It's amazing. You got a lot of people watching right now, commenting, who are stamp collectors. I mean, it's a big area. It's popular. I haven't seen you do. You probably did, maybe on your Patreon. When was the last time
I don't talk about?
I
don't talk about stamps on YouTube really, hardly at all. Just because I've got some hefty competition around here, and there's a lot. I don't want to give out secrets on stamps. There's a lot of stuff that I do in stamps that makes us a considerable amount of money. I'll just put it that way. And there's some ins and outs on that. I do talk about poster stamps on YouTube occasionally, but mostly on Patreon as well. Poster stamps are one of my loves. It's advertising, it's Americana, it's history all tied into one. And you don't have to be a stamp collector to appreciate them either, because they're Cinderellas, they're fantasy pieces. They're not actual philatelic items issued by a government, I guess is the difference. Trust me, I've spent what would that be? That would be 44 years of my life. I've had stamps in my possession. Let's just put it that way. I'm heavy into stamps. I've got probably more stamps than I have records, and I've got a lot of records. Let's just put it that way.
Atlas Addict said, join the Patreon if you want. Oh, no, Mike said, join the Patreon if you want the secrets.
Mike's, I've talked about stamps and Patreon, and there's not as much interest in stamps. I've actually had more interest in like buttons and stuff like that, because every category you or I sell in, there's a ton of secrets or insider stuff or issues. Like a comic book, there's some comic books that most people wouldn't think had any value, like Flaming Carrot. You know who Flaming Carrot is, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Flaming Carrot originally, his first appearance is not technically in a comic book. It's like in a, like almost like a fanzine. And I wish I could remember the name of it, but that one's one that's missed all the time. And I found him at comic book places, comic book shows and stuff. And in the last one, I got $75 for. I paid $1 for it out of somebody's dollar bin. They didn't open it up. It's not a comic book technically. And I think the second appearance of like Bucky O'Hare, there's an appearance of Bucky O'Hare that's really early too, that I do fairly good in. Or even like some of the weird titles like Gizmo or Image Comics and stuff. Some of those in high grade go for some good money.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
I love
Mike's
fanzine. Yeah, he gave you a $5 super chat. He's a great guy. Yeah, I love fanzines. I think you're thinking of Visions #1.
That's Visions. That's exactly. I've got a copy of it here somewhere too. I picked one up not too long ago.
Yeah.
See,
well, speaking of, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I keep interrupting.
No, it's all right. I just was relating to, we were talking about fanzines or magazines. Atlas Attic had a question earlier on whether or not vintage Life magazines have any value.
It depends on the Life magazine. Like let's give you the easiest ones to find are the Batman cover with him shooting up like this on the cover of it. And there's a Beatles one. And there's one issue that has, I think it's a Babe Ruth baseball card inserted in there at the staple line, and that one, just the cards out of it, goes for like $75. But we've had both of those three. I've had probably maybe 6 of the Batman ones. Usually I can pick stuff like that up, for $1 or so. Beatles covers will sell. Somebody, you're selling them. If a magazine like that sells, most of the time it's selling for who's on it as opposed to it being a Life magazine. The people who buy the Batman cover Life are not buying it because it's a Life. They're buying it because it's got Adam West, and it was the first major appearance on a national magazine for a low budget. I don't know what you want to call Batman. I'd say basically a sitcom of sorts, I guess, action adventure sitcom. Because it was a comedy in my book. I don't know what everybody else thinks. I loved the old Batman, so I know I kind of went off on a tangent there. But
no, you're right. I mean, there's also an old, if you ever find the old Life magazine with Roger Staubach on the cover, that one could go for almost $1,000. Like, that one is crazy. So if you could try to find out.
There's probably a couple hundred Life magazines that go for decent money. There's one with, I think Hitler might even be on the one. I know Time magazine with, I'm not bringing him up for any reason, just the fact that some of them are worth it for who's on the cover, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. So, and that depends on even like Time magazine. We've sold a ton of early 1940s, even into the 30s Time magazine for like $150 a pop. I've sold one for around $700 because it had a golf player on the cover of it. That's the only reason. And it was bought by someone who was a golf player. He was sending it in to have it certified and graded and all that stuff and slabbed in a frame. So, I mean, he was spending some money on this thing. So, yeah, I love magazines.
Yeah, it's all like it's all about the theme and stuff. I mean, there's a one from 1957 you should be on the lookout for. It has Bert Lahr on it, and it's got it's basically about magic mushrooms. So it's known as the magic mushrooms issue.
I've seen that one too. Yeah.
If you find that one, you can, and you would never like. This is the thing where you got to do your research, because if you didn't know about it, you would 100% pass that by every single time. It just a picture, looks like an old guy who's separating out some leaves, and he's just like peeking through it. He's got like a derby hat on, and that easily could sell for $400 or $500.
Names to look for in those, if you want to talk about, Timothy Leary is one of the names. If I see Timothy Leary in any of those magazines, I snag it. That's one of the top ones if you're talking about that sort of thing. Aleister Crowley is another name I always look for, and you can look him up. Both of those people are ones that I don't care what they are in, the topic that they're tied to. I won't get into Aleister Crowley, but Ozzy Osbourne has a song about Mr. Crowley. So the point of it is, little tiny, I've sold magazines for hundreds of dollars because of one page in that magazine, one single page. I've had people ask me, is this page in the book? I'm like, well, why would somebody cut out the page? But it was like a recipe, or it was like a specific intro or something on one specific incident or something, and that's why people want it. It's really oddball reasons sometimes. Look them all up. If you don't know, look them up. Yeah, even if it's a lot of items.
Right. You know, one thing.
Would you not agree?
No, I do. But one thing for people who are new, who are watching, I know I saw a few new people popping in, is that I think one of the biggest mistakes that newer resellers make is they go to an estate sale, or maybe they go to even a flea market, and they come across a bunch of old magazines that have JFK on it, and they buy them all up, and they think that they just hit the jackpot because they found old stuff with JFK, and they don't realize that everyone bought the JFK stuff back then, and everyone saved the JFK stuff. So it's not to say there's not any JFK stuff that has some value to it, but there's so much of it that even to this day, so many decades later, is still just too saturated in the market, and the demand goes down over time too a bit for that stuff. So
I can take you to someone right now who has like 20 cases of NOS JFK stock from the 60s right this very second locally. He bought it out of a building here in town, a printer distribution office. So there's a ton of that stuff up. Let me piggyback for 1 second. Just like Dom's talking about stuff that's mass produced, I don't know how many times somebody asked me about a specific record by this person or that person. It's the same principle. They made millions of the same Elvis record. They made millions of the same Johnny Cash or any of those sorts. So chances are the ones you want and a lot of stuff are ones you've never heard of. That, you know, who would want that? The same reason you haven't heard about it's the same reason they didn't make many of them, because no one knew who they were. And 9 out of 10 times, those are the ones that will be worth more than the ones that everybody had, just like a JFK magazine, like a commemorative, like a 9/11 commemorative issue magazine. Or they made millions of those things, you know, for various reasons. So, you know, that's the issue with that kind of stuff. It's just like when they flood the market or they mark something limited edition, but then they made 10 million of them. You know, you can limit it to a limited edition. Just means they only made so many. They could make 50 million of something, say it's a limited edition because it's only limited to 50 million instead of 100 million. Right. So that's one of those terms that too many collectors throw around a lot, which can be a little confusing to those new, not knowing that limited may not mean it's really a small production run in my book.
Yeah, I say the same thing with comic books. You got to be careful. I've made this point recently. You got to be careful with limited edition stuff, because limited edition of how many? They have limited editions where they only made 25 or 10 of something or 50, but then they literally have ones where they made 15,000 and they'll call it a limited edition. Well, that starts to not be so limited when you have numbers that are that big. So you got to be careful with that stuff. There's a question that came in from our friend Travis Griffin for you, Don. He's trying to get your attention on this one. He said, do you have a preferred vendor you use for Life magazine / sheet music sleeves / board? I'm not sure if he's talking about the Protect the protection.
Now,
But,
yeah, I saw Annie made a comment on that too. Now, I don't prefer. I don't prefer the Walmart boxes. I take them when I can't go in. I buy boxes from a box manufacturer because I go through a lot. I don't dumpster dive. Nothing wrong with dumpster diving, but I don't do it because I want all clean boxes. And I'm not saying it's dirty. I've dumpster dived for scrap metal, all kinds of stuff. So I have no problem getting dirty at all. Just with the people I send to, a lot of it is higher end. Sometimes, again, I'm not trying to degrade anything. This sounds kind of weird, but I like to have all uniform. I know how to cut it up. I know what I'm going to do every single time. So I literally buy it, but I'll buy 14-inch cubes from a local manufacturer, anywhere from say 68 to 72 cents, which is usually 10 cents cheaper than Walmart. If I buy them in bulk and I have somebody else who can go in on me, we'll buy half a skid, which is half a pallet or a full pallet. And the problem is that I never have enough. I sell more than them, so I'm the one who always has to front the larger chunk of boxes and keep it somewhere. So I usually end up going to Walmart for the reason. To ship sheet music, I use the Walmart 14, 14, 12 or the 14-inch cubes. I got a video that literally shows it in there. Just type in Ultimate Media shipping, I think, under my videos, or Ultimate Media. That's all you should have to type in. And you'll see, I think it has juggling like boxes and stuff, but I ship anything, including those placemats, in the same way I ship the sheet music. And I had more people ask me how to ship placemats than I've ever had anybody ask me how to ship anything else on YouTube in general, which I was really surprised. But I just use, if it's a big placemat, I use a 16-inch cube. But I do try to keep it with the 14-inch cubes for everything, just because then you can limit how many box sizes you have. I can cut up 14-inch cube and use it for, geez, almost anything in here I can mail with a 14-inch cube. Let's just put it that way. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that answers it. Hopefully that's the issue. The bags I just get off of Amazon or eBay, and I have a link to that in my Amazon affiliate page, which there's a link to down there that has everything I use. If you don't find it there, just look on the rest of the little links I have on there. But they're, I think they're 12 by 15, the bags that I get for sheet music. Most of the placemats and things like that. It also fits the large menus that we sell, and I use them for 8x10s. I use one size of bag as well too, so I can order multiple, a big huge bunch, like 1,000, 5,000 of those. It's cheaper to order one size of bag. Even if I cut half of it off and throw it away, it's half the cost to only order one size of bag, as opposed to ordering 5 different sizes and spending more for each one of those sizes. It's a way to lower your costs in shipping down. Again, and I charge for shipping, so I don't spend a dime on anything for shipping. It's all figured into my shipping costs. I keep my discount. It covers the costs on the final value fees, and I just go from there. So hopefully that answers that.
I think so.
I'm way better at it. What? Reading the chat. Yeah, Annie, I'm terrible on reading the chat. I literally have some vision issues lately that's might be permanent. So my vision wise isn't the greatest these days, I have to say, which is like very bothersome to me. Is there any other ones I missed in there, Dom?
I'll let you know if I see any. Mike said I should let you talk.
Let me talk.
He said I should. I know I talk
too much. Let me just do it. Midway Sideshow, thank you very kindly for the $5 super chat. Collector call on over the air channel, Me TV, hosted by Aleister. Never heard of that. Never heard of that one. Thank you, Midway. Go ahead, Dom. I'm sorry.
No, I do like watching those collector shows, whatever they are. I don't care. They have ones on comic books. There's collector shows on all sorts of things, both on cable and YouTube. Got to hunt around for them, but I always learn a lot through those types of shows. So I always enjoy them. Antiques Roadshow, American Pickers. I don't care. Even things that are staged, I don't care, as long as they could teach me something about the items. I love doing that. Look at this. I'm in charge of Auction Professor's channel for like 5 seconds.
Somebody said you can't find these. I know it's a little hard because it's green, but you can get these anytime at Walmart. You can order these online now, just FYI. You can order these from walmart.com online. I looked it up. They used to be banned out, but because of the pandemic, you can get them directly shipped to your store and pick them up in a pallet if you want. So they are available. If you can't find them at a store, just call your local box maker in your town, and you can get any box you want cheaper than Walmart. Any one of them. There's 4 box makers now I get stuff from here locally if I want to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. Mike says he could tease you because he's a Patreon. So
yeah, Mike's a lot. Mike is the first person I ever talked to on YouTube in the history of me being on YouTube. He's the first person I ever talked to, and I've had some long conversations with. Mike's a real good guy. He's into radio tubes and things. He's a friend of Paperboy and Mr. Magazine as well, Dave and Chuck. And he actually introduced Dave to me, so that's how I know Dave to begin with. He's been in my Patreon for like a year or something like that. They're real good guys. I've been talking to Dave actually. I was responding to him just before the show actually through email. Both real good guys. They're more along of the type of thing that I want to step up to Mr. Magazine's level, and we've been going back and forth. So yeah, I was inspired by Dom's. If you haven't seen Dom's video with the 2 guys, what's it? $1 Million. I'm so bad on names.
$1 Million Peddlers.
$1 Million Peddlers. Watch Dom's video. It was a real good video. It was an eye opener. I was really surprised at how much space Mr. Magazine has. I know Dave helps him out in the mornings before work, so I was really surprised to see the space that he has, the amount of size and stuff. I'm actually going to have a private chat with those guys here after the holidays and stuff, and you might see them on my channel too. I think it'd be helpful as a motivation. I told Dom after his show too that I said that was a huge motivation as a pusher for me, because quantity, man. I've been hearing Dave has been giving me numbers how much they're sending out just from one account, and you know that's the way to go in my book. Quantity rules all in my book. And Dom's video, that video was a real good video. I have to say, I was really impressed with those guys.
Dom. Yeah,
Dom did an excellent job as the MC, and he showed the relevant information in the whole work. So
I appreciate that because Don, you know, he does a lot to motivate a lot of people, including myself. And so if there's ever a chance that I could return the favor, even in a small way, that makes me feel good, especially as we wrap up the year and reflect back on everything that happened this year. It's been a crazy year.
Yeah, let me just thank you, Greg Sanders, for the $5 super chat. I do honestly appreciate that as well. Nobody has to. I always forget it's there until somebody does it. And let me do. Mike's got. You can buy pre-cut cardboard, which is 100% something you can do as well too. We go to a box manufacturer. I can get all that stuff. My son has some medical issues. I don't go out any more than I have to. I hate to say it. So I don't go out to a lot of places these days. So whatever's closest and has the least amount of contact is where I get them from. But Mike is 100% right. Paperboy, Mr. Magazine, you can get pre-cut. You can get them for, Don probably knows, you can get comic book mailers already to go. You can get comic book strips, you can get backers, you can get record folders, record inserts, corrugated cushioning. All that stuff is available, and I would bet you that any local place would be able to do it for you as long as you're buying at least somewhat of a quantity. Yeah, I know I'm rambling on. Go ahead, Dom. I keep talking. I'm terrible on that sometimes.
Yeah, it's your show, man. You should talk more.
No, but I'm having you on, and I do that. I ramble on too much. It's my tick, I guess, that I'm always guilty of doing.
No, that's you know, I think that I probably do it more than you do, Don, in terms of talking.
I don't know. I talk a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's, you know, I guess we each have our strengths and weaknesses, right? But you know, I do try to improve on that. And funny, actually, the last video that I put up, besides the thrift battle that I had last night, it was the one on 10 ways to list 10 times faster on eBay. And when I was divvying up that video and I was editing it and I was filming certain parts of it, there was one part which surprised me, Don. The part that people were the most the thing that they learned the most, like the most common theme. I could not believe how many people did not know you could use templates in eBay.
I saw that. I was surprised too.
blown away by it. People were like, wow, they couldn't believe it. But the funny thing is, where I was getting on that, but because when I was filming that section, I was talking too much about it. I went like 4 minutes talking about it at first. And I said, and I was going to use that. And I said, no, I'm going to challenge myself. I got to say what I need to say in 2 minutes. So I cut it 50% and I made sure it was about a 20-minute video when it was all said and done. So I've been trying to work on that, and I'm going to keep working on it some more next year. So that's one of my biggest issues.
I got that same problem. I talk sometimes. When I first started, everybody would say, "You're talking too much. You're talking too much. You're talking. You're saying the same thing. Blah blah blah." And I'm like, I can't. It's hard to change who you are and how you talk. You know.
Yeah.
Layden Miller, well, thank you very kindly for the $3 super chat. Honestly and sincerely do appreciate that. We do obviously put a lot of time into this. Whether the return's worth it all the time or not, it's a different story. But I love talking about what I do. I love talking about the collectibles. I know I've seen enough of Dom's videos. When he gets excited, you can always tell when he's holding some really good comic book or something in his hand. So
everyone could tell my eyes light up. I'm like a kid in a candy store. But
yeah, we went to we were in Florida, and we went to Mel Fisher's museum. I don't know if you know who Mel Fisher is, but he found the Atocha off the Florida coast. And the first time I have ever touched treasure in my life was at his shop. And you can touch, I think it's like a 500-ounce bar of silver, this thing that was pulled up from the bottom of the ocean bed. And I lit up. I didn't even want to let go of this thing because you can put your hands through some holes and touch it. And it was like, oh, it was so neat knowing that, it was Spaniards bringing that across the ocean and it sunk. And then Mel Fisher lost his son to find that. And it was a really interesting thing. I love that sort of thing. Yeah. Mel Fisher Museum. I don't remember the city, but
yeah, there's so many small museums all around the country that you could just go in and learn all little bits of tidbits of information, and you'd be surprised at how many there are. Even just little cities, like little tiny cities and towns, is that they have like their own museum and stuff. And so that's just a cool way to go learn a little local history and stuff. So
well I got a couple more. Well, Emily Stapek, I hope I pronounced that right. Thank you very kindly. I sold a rare beer can for $500. I have another exact like it. How long should I wait to list it? I usually wait a week or so if it's something like that. There's a limited amount of collectors, and you don't want to put too close together because the collector who bought it, if it doesn't go for as much, I've had people email me back and say they thought it was scarce and blah, blah, blah. There's not much they can do. If they leave feedback on something like that, you can get it removed. But it's just best, in my opinion, on something like that to wait, because if it's a $500 beer can, you've probably got the attention of a lot of beer can collectors. There's not many $500 beer cans. I would say it's probably a cone top from the way the pricing would be on it, would be my opinion. Probably a straight-sided steel would be my guess as well. So I would wait at least a week. Some cases I've waited till the next month if I didn't need the money. Chances are you could still sell it though. I listed some buttons the other day for, I don't remember the list price, but normally I don't list all of them at once. Normally I'll list several of them, but in certain areas I listed all 5 and I sold all 5 to the same person. You may have listed them together and possibly sold them both for $500. It's hard to say on that, but I would seriously wait at least a week. More like 30 days would be my personal opinion if you want a fresh look at it. The only other thing you got to worry about is if somebody else has one just like in the same condition and they list theirs before yours. There's only so many people that are willing to spend $500 on a beer can from what I have seen. And I got one more, and I hate to occupy, but thank you so much, Catlam, for the $4.99 super chat. It's honestly very, very touching that people do stuff like that. Thank you very kindly. I'm not one to push anything like that, but I do thank you very kindly. Now, if I could only get it off the screen. There we go. I'm sorry, Dom. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I constantly keep interrupting.
No, it's okay. There was a question that came in on, and this is something I don't really pay too much attention to. I might be look at it a couple times a year, but someone's just asking there how many followers we have on our eBay stores. Now, I mean, it is a good thing to have followers of your store because, they could get alerts when certain things come out, and you're more likely to kind of peek back in and see what you've got going on. But It's not a number I've really focused on that much. What about you? Do you pay attention to that much? How many followers you have to your eBay store?
I couldn't even tell you how many's there. I don't look at that number at all. The
Yeah.
followers. What do you, if you use the mark? I use the followers for marketing. When I do a markdown, you can send out emails. eBay will do it all for you. So when you do a markdown in sales, you can actually have promotional material sent out to people that are following that signed up for your newsletter. That's the only thing I really worry about when it comes to people following or something like that. Maybe there's 1,000 people following my store. I don't remember. I know I've seen it before, but it's just not a figure like sell-through rates. I don't look at my sell-through rate at all anymore. At all. I don't care what anybody else says about a sell-through rate. With my business, my personal business, it means nothing. I could care less what that sell-through rate is on my vintage store. Other items in my other stores, different story. But in vintage, I don't care. That's one of those ones, just like how many views I have. I never look at the views. I could care less how many views I have. The only thing that matters is watchers that I can send offers to watchers to. And that's all I really pay attention to. Yeah. I don't know about you if you look at view counts and stuff like that. But
I do. I look at all those numbers. I mean, I look at them pretty much every day. I look at view counts. I'm like you. I make offers every day. Except
2 or 3 times a day I make.
Yeah, I do too. Except for me, I don't make offers on items that well, actually, Don, I think you said you don't make an offer at all for the first 30 days of the item, right? Or is it...
That's the video tomorrow. You're gonna see how many offers I've been sitting on right now. Tomorrow's video. I've already been shot today. So yeah, I wait like 30 days. I don't like to do an offer to a watcher for the first month because probably 20% of the time I sell it at or near the cost, which is probably more than my offer would have been to the watcher. So I learned to wait 30 days.
Yeah, it's interesting. I should actually do almost like a study and see if there's a difference, because I have the same philosophy, although my time frame is shorter. I will not send an offer out at all for the first week, because that's when I find it to be, it's the most fresh and has the greatest chance of selling is at that point. But I'd be curious to know if there is a big difference between that 30-day mark and the 7-day mark. I should actually do a comparison or something. But,
let me, with that too, I would say that it depends on the item. If like buttons right now, I got 695 buttons that I listed myself. I have 183 watchers out of that, which is a 1 in 4 ratio, about almost 1 in 4. That ratio is increased from an 18% up to that 24 and whatever percent. So it not sending the offers out is actually drummed up some more interest and more watchers from what I say. And of course I got a whole philosophy with how I listed it and the bombing and getting quantity up and things like that. But I feel it actually has to depend on the item. Now, if it's an item like something that there's a whole bunch of, like a specific video game and there's 100 competition for it, if I get an offer or a watcher on it, I'm probably going to want to send something out quicker than my 30 days. My 30 days is for vintage, because the right person has to be on. And in fact, I got a Patreon video coming up today. You're going to see some of what I'm talking about right now, some more in depth on that. But the point of it is that you got to be, people are reading the information wrong. Let's put it that way. That's what I see a lot of why people price and send out offers and things like that. If I look at my comps for an item, any item, whatever item I'm at, if there's only like 6 or 7 of them, I don't care what the comp says. I don't care. I don't care at all what the comp says. I don't care when somebody sends me an email, which I just got one the other day, that says, well, this person's selling it for this price. You need to, would you come in this range? I don't care what the other person's selling it for. I know what I can sell it for. And far too many people rely specifically on the comp price from eBay. And too many people will look at a comp price and say, well, it sold for 10. I'm going to get 10 out of it. Just because it sold for $10 to 3 different people doesn't mean I can't get 50 for that $10 item. And that's the same way. That's my philosophy with a lot of the offers and stuff like that. It's the same basic principle. It's a game to me to some extent, I guess. So I'm careful on which I do. As I said, with like a video game, I might send out an offer within the first 10 or 12 days if there's a big competition for that item. If there's not, like the 183 people watching these items, there's nobody else online that has them. I know if I listed all those 189 or 183 items at a $9.99 auction start price, all of them would sell. I'd bet you $1 million. But you know that it depends on the item, I guess, is the point. I know I'm running around in a circle here, but it depends on the item in my book.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And one of the things I'll do, a little inside trick I haven't really, I guess I've maybe mentioned it a couple times on my channel, but I will use the number of watchers on there and how many it says it's sending out to somebody. I'll actually put that into my message that I'll send to people. I'll say, hey, listen, you and 7 others are getting this offer, so act quickly, just to put some pressure on them, because the more you could psych them out and think, well, if I don't take it, then one of those other 7 people might. That's how you could get to move those items faster, because you know they're going to give you that little generic message that pops up that says, here's a great offer on this item. Like, that's it. You could just send that out. I think a lot of people do that, but I just have a little cut and paste thing, and I'll just modify the number depending on how many people I'm sending it out to. Now, if it's only going out to one person, I don't say that, but if it's going out to multiples, I'll mention that. So just put a little pressure, psych them out a little bit.
Yeah, I've done that as well too. If somebody sends me an offer on an item and the item already has 4 or 5 watchers, it just went up, I'll tell them, hey, it's got 4 or 5 watchers. I've already got some other contact from other people. You know, I can't go below. This is my bottom line as of right now. I don't know how many times I've said that, like with the buttons. I've turned down 40, 45 offers already on those buttons that I've got up, and I got like less than 1% of what we own. I don't care if I turn them down at all in the first week. If I don't feel comfortable, I think I can get more out of it. I don't care what other people sell the exact same thing for. It's not a factor with what we're doing. Just that's my take on it. You can take it how you want. I'd rather sell a little less than other people amount of items, but sell them for more, because I'm doing less work, but I'm still making more money than they are in the first place. At least that's my take on it. I see people struggling to sell $10 items. If they priced them at 20, they could probably sell at least 1 or 2 of those same items for 20 and not have to worry as much. That's my take on it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm very patient. I don't mind waiting people out at all. And I'm, you know, kind of stubborn that way with it. I'll take a good, you know, if a good offer comes in, I'll certainly take it, but I'm not going to give the stuff away. I'm just not going to. So I put too much. That's something for people to remember. I think people forget about this, which is, think how much work you put into finding the item, how much work you put into researching it, how much work you put into photographing it, how much work you put into listing it, which of course we try to be as efficient as possible with that stuff. Then your item goes up there and someone sends you an offer that's really not that great. You might be tempted to take it. But you know, always remember before you click that accept button how much work you put into it. You know, that could maybe make you think twice about whether or not you should hold out a little bit for a little more money. You know, it depends on your situation, of course. Everyone's different, but you know, that's something I think of a lot. Say, no, wait a minute, I put a lot of work into this darn thing. Even the setup, like if I'm selling a big lot of magazines, you know, and I have my setup that everyone's seen before, where I splay them all out and then I flip them over, I show the backs, I stack them up, I get all different angles and everything. You know, there's a lot that went into that, and so I feel like that's time that is worth money, and I want to be reimbursed for that.
That goes right along with, like, I did a video and I was talking about, what was I, sending out offers or something, and a lot of people were talking about, well, that was up for 4 years. Why are you keeping it up so long? You've got 85% of the work's done by the time you have that item up on eBay. Why would you give away all of that if I'm not paying an extra dime to have that listing just sit there? I get people also saying that, you know, well, if it's been up for that long, eBay's not showing the item. Well, obviously they are showing the item because mine's the only one up and I just sold it. So I don't worry about length of time because, again, time is money. Why would I spend 85, 90% of my labor on it just to take it down because it was sitting there for a certain length of time? With antiques and collectibles, the eBay is just basically an antique mall, is all eBay basically is for what I show you guys in the store. An antique mall just puts stuff in the store and somebody has to walk in, the right person. It may take 2 or 3 years to sell something. It doesn't bother me at all because we've got enough stuff up that I'm always selling stuff. And we had $1,500 days throughout this past weekend on eBay alone, just on eBay. it's a constant flow. I don't care if the stuff's been up for 4 or 5 years. You're throwing away a ton of labor every time you take something down. If it's a good item, check the keywords again instead of deleting it. Let it sit there, because I don't know, every day I probably sell something that's been up for years. Many things. It's just another one of those, don't waste your time. If you're not paying for it, don't spend the time just to pull it down. You're wasting even more time just to throw away all of the time. It doesn't make sense. If you're not paying for the listing, don't take them down. That's my opinion. It's not going to, if it's vintage, it's not going to hurt you. I see a tiered system on searches that are different for NOS, home goods, new stuff versus the collectibles categories. eBay has got to have 2 different search methods employed here. There's just no other way around it. So I'm not taking it down. It shouldn't matter at all on that.
Yeah.
Yes, Annie, they're military and uniform buttons in general.
Question from Nancy. When you run an auction, do you prefer 7 or 10 days? I know you don't do
10
too
days.
many auctions. But
I got one running right now.
Why do you choose 10 over? Why do you choose 10 over 7?
Because for most of what I sell, it's going to take some time. That's why I mostly do bins, because a lot of the stuff I sell might take 2 months for the right person to see it, 3 months, 4 months. If you run them 7 days, you're not getting as much time and visibility. So what I'll do is I'll start them so they end on a Sunday. So if you start them in the beginning of the week, they're running through 2 weekends. So you've got enough. Usually the weekends are where you get the most views in my book for what I sell, the antiques and collectible stuff. So it's the time frame. So again, a video and Patreon's going up. Somebody sold something for $15 because they listed it for a 7-day auction. Which should have been something that was listed as a bin in the first place, mind you. So you got to know your items inside and out, I guess. And I spend an ungodly amount of time doing the comparisons. Does this work? Does that work? So I'll do spreadsheets and all kinds of stuff that people think I'm crazy and waste my time on. But at the end of the day, I can tell you without a doubt that a bin will work for this item versus a auction. It depends on the item again. I've compared them all. You can do it yourself. Go to Terapeak and look at which ones are auctions, which ones are bins on items that you sell. Compare which one goes higher versus, what they're going for. And like I sell for $50. People will put up at an auction starting price of $15. Only one person's on that's going to see this. But if I put it up for $50 and let it run for 6 months, a person who thinks $50 is a good price is going to come out and get that for $50. But if you're running it for a minimal amount of time, you're getting minimal amount of exposure. Every minute of exposure you can get in an auction matters in my book. 10-day auctions are all I ever do these days. I will never do anything else but a 10-day auction. Even if I had to pay that 10 cents more they used to charge you, I would still pay the 10 cents more to do a 10-day auction. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, interesting. I've always done the 7-day, but now hearing Don talk about the 10-day, I mean, it's definitely a logic to that. I mean, makes sense. I might try that. I don't do auctions much though, but it has to be very, very a very special, specific type of item for me to do that. But I might try that out next time. See how it goes.
I've got 100 items on auction. They're just stuff that I don't care what happens to, just to use up some of my auctions. And they'll run for 10 days, and I'll do them 3 times a month. There was 333 items I was auctioning off to start with, and it's down to 100 now. So we've auctioned off 233 items of the auctions in 7 months out of the junk that I wanted to get rid of. So it's over a third of all of what we sold I did with 10-day auctions on auctions. I did list one button is under an auction on my store just because it's the one button out of the 695 I wasn't sure on the value. Every other one I was able to get a value on. It's the only reason I listed it as an auction, and it's a 10-day auction.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's like a fishing lure. I just did a video on fishing lure. A fishing lure, depending on the brand, Daryl, if he's in the house, he'll know. He knows the brands more than I do. A fishing lure, though, I would list as an auction. A rare soul record that hasn't sold in 5 years, I would list as an auction with a very high starting price. You're either going to get people that won't look at it at all because they're afraid of the price, or they'll be a true collector will say, well, $1,000 starting price is half of what it goes for. So yeah, I'm going to take a chance on it. Anyway, I know I ramble way too much.
No, I've got a good one for you, Don. You're gonna like this question. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, here it is from Trina. How many hours a week do you work?
78 last week, I would say. 78 hours last week. And I can say that because I started tracking them again. Maybe once every quarter, I'll track them for 1 or 2 weeks just to see where my hours are running. And that's if I walk out of my facility to go watch a show or do something, I time out on that. I'm going to be doing in Patreon. We're going to be doing charts where I've got contests. I've got lots of forums. So I've been testing. I'm going to do everything with everybody else. So you'll see my numbers and stuff like that. I honestly recommend anybody who has never sat down and written out how many hours they're actually working does it. You will find time you're wasting and all kinds of stuff. I don't watch TV at all anymore. I don't do. Our only goal now is to get to 100,000 listings. I'm dead serious on that. I've been listing 220 items a day, every day that I'm able. There's 2 days that I didn't list in the last 9 days because I've had other commitments. And today I haven't listed a single item, but when the show's over, I'm listing 20 some odd items. Listing it is all I've got in my mind right now. And it's, to me, it's not, I'm not overworked. I know people say you're going to kill yourself. I would be bored if I didn't have something to do all the time. I'm ADD or whatever. I've got to have something going on. And I was up to 1 last night listing. I listed for 6 hours or so, I want to say, straight, nonstop, one right after another one. I didn't leave my chair for that whole time. I'm pumped about it. Pumped to see my store with 100,000 listings in one store alone. We've got like 80,000 altogether combined, but I sat there. You and me talked about this once before. If we listed everything we had and we sold it off for $1, we'd have like $1 million plus. Yeah. Probably. We've got over 1 million in inventory live. It's like 1.2 million right now in live. That's my list price. If I listed everything I have, I would probably in list, again, this isn't what it would sell for. This is list price, probably have like $5.5 million in inventory up live. Now that may sound like some huge number, but I got almost nothing into it comparatively. And, you know, I'm not going to get that out of it. You know, conceivably, I could have $1 million worth of inventory. That's my driving factor. And part of it, again, back to Dom's video with Mr. Magazine and stuff in there. I relate Mr. Magazine. Well, Dave and Chuck, they seem to be like how I feel about some things. As I've talked to Papergoy quite extensively in chat for quite some time now. That's my only goal now. Right now, we've changed everything just to go in for quantity. I want that 100,000. I want that. I want to have everything I own up, so it's not just sitting here. So I can push out some more. We've got a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes I don't talk about, but I'm so driven at this point. If I could work more than 78 hours and still have family time, I would do it, because it's not work anymore. It's more like an addiction, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it, but I am so. I know I've probably went on and on, rambled with text messages to Dom about how much I'm driven by this, but I can't think of anything else, and I'm not kidding. I've just got. Ask my wife. I've got that. I've got to get to those quantities. That's all I can see in my head. It's like I've got a tunnel vision on listing quantity, I guess, right now. Bad or good, I don't know, but there I'm rambling again. But yeah.
No, but if you've got that, motivation is the key. That's what's going to keep you. It's going to keep you going. I mean,
motivation. The Cinderella Man. I hate to keep. I've talked about that many times, but Cinderella Man is like one of my favorite movies. Jerry Maguire's up there too, of course, but he's fighting for milk in the movie, and that's how I related. I can relate to that because we've lived on where we lived from check to check, where we didn't have anything and didn't even know, the kids ate good, and me and the wife did what we had to. I've been on the bottom, so for me, that's all I can see. I can just, I'm fighting for milk. I'm fighting for the food for my kids. I'm fighting for the roof over my head. And I don't, this isn't words I mean lightly at all. And I know people, crocodile tears. I hear comments. This is how I really feel. I don't care what anybody thinks. This is literally how I feel.
Wait, how often do you get flack from people about the stuff that you say? Because you say that a lot, like on shows. You're like, so someone will say this like insulting comment. Do you deal with a lot of that stuff, like back, like the comments that come in and stuff like that?
Most of them just get deleted. The kids point some out once in a while. I get a
Okay.
lot. I had a weird one the other day. Somebody said your shirt's an obvious fake. What's the brand I wear? I can't think of the brand I even wear. I can't believe I can't think of the brand I wear.
Well, you're
Well, whatever brand is I wear.
Aeropostale?
Pardon me?
Don't you have like Aeropostale stuff?
Hollister.
Oh, Hollister, yeah, Hollister.
I'm like, it's a $24 brand new shirt from a Hollister store. Why would I go
Why
out and
would
buy a
someone wear
fake?
fake Hollister shirt?
Yeah, and I said, I commented back on that one. I says, I sure hope you're not in a clothing reseller, because you're obviously in the wrong field if you're saying this is a fake shirt. And it was one that the shirt in the video is one that you can buy on their site right this second. But yeah, the kids read a lot of those. Somebody here usually goes through. None of my posts go directly live. Or the comments I've had since we were attacked a year or so, whatever that was. That was the last time I let any posts go live, because we got a lot of negative and nasty stuff on that one. And I don't care anymore what anybody says. I could care less what somebody thinks. I pay my bills. They don't pay my bills. Not to be disrespectful, but you and me both do a lot. You do a lot more than I do. I don't know how on earth you have the time if I'm doing 78 hours, but yours is a different structure because you've got your doctor and the whole work. So for me, I've got to struggle a little more. I guess I've got to put in a little more time. I don't know. It's just one of those things, I guess.
Well, no. So last night I worked at the hospital yesterday it was from, let's see, got up around 6, left the house around 7. So it was 8 to 7 o'clock day. This is 11-hour day. By the time I got home, it was like 7:30. Ate dinner real quick. Had a live show at 9. I'm standing there in the kitchen, and Mrs. Primetime she's looking at me. Thankfully, she had made something for me, so I didn't have to. But sometimes I'd make my own stuff. She doesn't always do that. But and she just looked at me, and she's just like, "I don't know how you do it." She said. She just looked at me. She's like, "I don't know how you do it." She goes, "I live with you. I don't know how you do it." And I just said, well, one of the keys is just I'm not really stopping much. I'm just going on from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. I mean, yeah, I take a little break here and there, but nothing really, huge on days like that. Weekends are a little different. Try to relax more on those days. But during the weekdays, man, I mean, I'm just flying from, I get, some sleep, but, I just go in continuous because like there's just so much I want to get done. And that's what I tell her. I'm like, you only live once. There's so much I want to get done. There's so much I want to get accomplished that I really see sleep as more of a impediment for the most part.
I was just going to say a hindrance. I sleep 4 hours a day. I don't know what anybody else sleeps, but when I get up, I'm running, I got up at 7 something this morning. I had to do emails, messages. I finished editing. I got the process video. You'll have I did Patreon. I set up some stuff for this. I didn't even get to do the thumbnail for this show until I finished my shipping at like 12:40, and I started at 10, so it tells you how much I had going out. And then I think at 1 I posted the link for the show. Then I did moving around. I got the boxes in. I got some more merchandise in that I had to go sort through. Then I set up photos for 2 people. I set up 2 more laptops for somebody. Then I sat down and I did all my Patreon, answered everything. This is from 6 or 7 this morning. And then the show started, and then I'm here on the show. So 7 o'clock to whatever time we're at now, that's I haven't stopped at all. I don't watch TV. There's no shows I watch anymore, hardly at all. Everything is devoted now. It's either family or it's listing. That's it. That's all I'm worried about right now. Let me cut for just 1 second, because I do have a question and another super chat up there. Don Travis, well, thank you very kindly. You are talking about the 3 wise men figures, I'm assuming, from Italy. Type in manger figures in Italy, and you might be able to find those. If that is what you are talking about. I don't know about autograph, but if you might be talking about the name on the bottom, if that is what you're talking about, I'm assuming those are the 3 wise men. I honestly have the 11-inch Fantini, or however it's pronounced, 3 wise men sitting over here right this second. I actually showed the whole set in a video, if those are the ones you're talking about. The resin figures about this big, their manger set, 3 wise men, I'm assuming. That would be the ones you're talking about. But look, type in Manger, Italy, just as I said, and you should find them in there. Sometimes people don't know the name because some of the markings on them do not have the full name. They'll have like 11/57, which are model mold numbers is what those are. So FYI.
We just got a nice super chat from Chris. A nice compliment. Chris Gatwood, $5.
Well, thank you very kindly. Thank you. Again, it's not necessary. I honestly don't call out, hey, give me super chats. I do appreciate it. As I said, I work long hours. I really do 70 some odd hours a week most of the time. And I'm always hyper. My legs are bouncing if I'm not moving and stuff like that too. So sometimes you might see a video shaking. It's because my feet are bouncing. What's it? Restless leg syndrome. Isn't that what they call it? Something like that.
You got it. That's right. Now we will plead guilty, Don. We were accused in the chat of being fake Santas. So because the hats are fake. So that's true.
Well, I might be a fake Santa, but this could be Santa's hat. You never know. You know, I could have scored that big score.
It's true. It's definitely true. So, and I did tell people, Don, I purposely put the pom-pom on the other side so people could tell you and I apart here. So, now you're really throwing them off.
Now we're in trouble now. I'll stick. You know, it reminds me of being in college when you have to switch the tassel over to the other side.
That's true, right?
Hopefully that's what you were bought in 87 or 83. Hang on, Don's responded. Did I miss it? If they're signed on a leg it might not even be one of their signatures. I'll tell you why, because when I was sourcing for some Christmas stuff, we've got a city called Frankenmuth, Michigan around here, which is Christmas 24/7 every day of the year. It's a huge place. I can't think of the name of the big store. Bronner's, I think, as it's called up there. They would, we'd see people buy them, or we'd run into huge lots that they bought there and stuff, and they would put their grandkids' names on the figures so they knew who they went to when they passed away. I don't know if that's your case, but I've never heard of any of those being signed because they're mass produced in Italy in a factory. I don't even think they're hand painted in any way, shape, or form. Now, if they're like custom display pieces, there might be a chance, but I don't think I've ever seen one of those signed with a real signature. I don't even know who would sign it because there's no technical designer names that I'm aware of for any of those. It's just a group of people for the company, if I'm not mistaken. I have looked into that. We have, I don't know, maybe 50 or so of those figures around here somewhere. I picked up another one. I've showed them in videos all the time, actually. If you're in my Facebook, you can always post a photo of it and see what happens too. I may take a look at it.
We got a good question from Orbit Roshi. I could take this one first if you want, because this is right in my wheelhouse.
I'm talking way too much.
That says, when you guys go to estate sales, do you tend to hit it on the first day or wait until the prices drop? That's a great question. For me, it depends on the dealer. So when you hit enough estate sales up locally, you will get to know the regular dealers. If it's someone who I don't know, for example, if it's a family member that's just running one, I want to get there on the first day. The only time that I will purposely wait until the second day, if it's a dealer who I know who tends to price things up pretty high on that first day, yet does offer a nice steep discount the second day. It's a pretty loaded house, and there's a chance that I feel I could go in there and be able to find stuff that other people missed or were too shy to purchase on that first day. So there's a particular dealer in mind that I've done that a bunch with this year. I've mentioned it many times in my haul videos. Yet there are other dealers that I go out of my way to be there first and to be the first in line. Whatever estate sale looks like, it's going to be the best one. That's the one I want to be at, first in line. I try to get up on the sign up list, try to get that number so I could at least get into on the first wave. Remember, you don't have to be the first person in the door. I see these people trying to get the first number, the second number, the third number, and then when they call everyone in the house, like the first 20, they're rushing in like it's Walmart on a Black Friday. You don't have to do that. Just try to get in on the first wave, and that's usually sufficient in those situations. Now, if there's, and this is often the case by me, if there's multiple estate sales going on at the same time or some other big event going on that I want to go to, and I just can't hit every estate sale up at one. I just prioritize which ones look the best, which ones are in the closest regionally. So I could go, all right, I can not go to that one first, that one second, that one third. So like we talked about earlier, valuing your time. And then, you know, it just might not make sense. It could be there's a really good estate sale, but it's all the way over here. So you hit those first three up, and then later on you go out to that one that's all the way up there, and you just know, hey, I'm going to hit that one up towards the end, but maybe I could get some better deals there. So that's my general philosophy on it. I don't know if you have a different one, Don, or what your approach is with those sales.
In all honesty, I haven't been to an estate sale. I don't know when the last estate sale. I love estate sales. Don't get me wrong. If I do go to an estate sale and I'm not the first group of people in the door, all the people around here just dive bombing. It's not much. Well, I can still score on the last day too, but it's not going to be like the high end stuff that, you know, you spend 100, you can make 4. It'll be more like the spend $1 or 2 and make 40 or something, stuff like that. Around here, there's people that will wait the night before on some of the big estate sales. I'm not camping out in my car. I'm not camping out and switching off and stuff like that. Around here, it's cutthroat. And
yeah, I was talking about that in a recent video of mine. That so I showed up to an estate sale. I can't remember the exact time. I think it started. I was supposed to start at like 9 or something like that. And usually, if you get there an hour early, you're fine. So I get there an hour early, and I go to sign up on the list, and there's already like 15 to 20 people on the list. I'm like, there's no way all these people beat me this early to the sale. And it turns out, like you just said, they had someone. I hate when these companies do this. They let one of the customers come. They bring a notepad like this, and then they have all their buddies come by who they're friends with, and they put their names on the list. And then one of them sits there, camps out overnight with the list, and they might rotate in shifts so that by the time the estate sale starts, you have 20 people on the list ahead of everyone else who tried to do it fair and square by coming, you know, a little bit early that morning. It's so annoying. And I love when they try to pull stuff like that, and I still find stuff that they missed. That's the best part. I love that. That just gets my competitive fires going, and I want to just find as many things as possible that they didn't grab. So
around here, I gave up garage sales mostly when people were going the night before and stopping by. Oh, I thought it was today. And I heard that from like 3 or 4 in a row when we used to do garage sales. Well, somebody came by last night. It was the same person going to all of them and using the exact same line. Oh, I read the paper wrong. I thought it was today. And they'll go while they're bringing out stuff and buy all the good stuff the night before. Last one was the last straw because somebody came in and ripped off the lady for a bunch of promo 45s, thousands of dollars worth of stuff that I saw in the ad the day before. And that just ended. Around here, I've had people grab stuff directly in front of me that my hands are on to grab it in front of me and think they're going to go away and get with it. I gave up all that because most of what we do is literally targeted right this second. I know every market's not like that, but around here, people are a-holes, pardon me, but there's a lot of people that don't care if they rip off people. They don't care if they push or shove or what they got to do to make that extra buck. And I don't need the money that bad. I don't need to fight. I don't want to sit in a big line of people and argue or I've seen fights at these places. I've seen fights. Yeah. And it's not like at auctions that I've seen fights too. Hang on just one second. Thank you very kindly, Mark Albert, for that. 4 hours is fine for me. I'm used to getting up at early in the morning, working in the restaurant. So, but I thank you very kindly for the $10 super chat in the comments. But
so anyway, I got another good one, Don, from Travis. He says, "Do you guys ever grab things outside of your niche?" Now, I'm with Don on the niche thing. By the way, I'm a nicher. Don's a nicher. I'm a nicher. I'm not a nicher. I know there's a lot of nichers out there. Don and I don't niche. We niche.
It's technically grammatically correct either way.
FYI. It is. I know. I've had people correct me and say it's not niche. but yeah, you could say it either way. So anyway, so we're nichers, but so the question is, do you guys ever grab things outside of your niche at these, or are you blowing through them looking for your main treasures? So Don, go ahead if you want to answer that first, or doesn't matter. Whatever.
If I go to a estate sale, if I go to one, records are the first thing I always go for. Every time. And then after that, I just walk around and see what piques my eye. If my hands aren't full, or I don't have to run out to the car with something. Or because a lot of them I'll run into these. Well, the ones I used to go to last year, you couldn't set stuff behind the thing because people would end up going through it. Another buyer, oh, look, you got this for sale, but when somebody's not looking, and then all the stuff you just put up at the front's now gone. I've had that happen I don't know how many times. So you got to carry it around. And if I got to leave, I never go back in again. So if I find a whole bunch of stuff right off the bat, I leave and I'm done. Otherwise, if I find a few, I'll walk around. I mean, I don't care what it's in. If it's something high price, my niches are my favorite because I like those items. It has nothing to do with anything other than I like buttons. I like stamps. I like the stuff I sell. I like history. So I don't really care anything. And my niches, I've got so many niches though, 40, 50 different things that I could specialize in if I could source enough of them. So.
Yeah, I think it's only natural when you walk into a place that you're going to look for things that at first that, you really have a lot of experience in. And that makes sense because, you want to be able to grab those things that you have that knowledge on that, your competitors might know about too, or you want to get it before, somebody else does. So yeah, I tend to gravitate more towards like books or with whatever's in the basement area, paper-based types of items, toys, that kind of thing. But after that, I really do make it a point to, like Don says, look around and try to find, whatever kind of grabs your eye. But I specifically do look for things that are outside of my traditional areas. Every year I have a few things that I'm trying to learn more about. Like one year was tools, this year was jewelry. And I'm trying to continuously broaden things out. Like being able to now add a whole jewelry section into my store with the help of Mrs. Primetime has been huge. It's brought in a lot more people to look around for things and made a lot of sales through that. And that was an area that was just almost non-existent in my store prior to that. So I always encourage doing that. And if there's something that, you feel you could look up, you could try to do a little comp search on it, even if it's outside your area, try that. Experiment with some things here or there. And you could open your eyes to like, wow, I didn't realize that was something valuable. And next thing you know, you're selling a bunch of whatever things are in that category. Always got to look out for things in other categories.
I would say if I have even the slightest inclination that it's worth money and I'm already out at a place, I will look up anything that I think might have money or a value in it. I don't care what category it's in. Of course, records are usually the first place I go. Or if there's postcards, one of those two paper postcard boxes on a counter, I always go to, and records. But I don't mind. I can go to any, like an antique mall. I can go to an antique mall and just score out at anything, because you got all the time in the world to look up anything you want. And too many people like go to an antique mall and assume that, well, they're antique dealers. They know what they got. They only know certain niches that they know, and they don't look. I don't know how many times I've made hundreds and hundreds of dollars at places just because people don't spend the time to look it up. Dealers, other sellers, other people. Some of the booths I buy at one of the antique malls here, he's a reseller online. So it just goes to show that, research is key. I don't care what it is. And I'm sure Dom, if he sees something that looks like it could be expensive, I'm going to buy it, especially you got a phone in your hand. You've got the best tool in the world to find a price on something, your phone.
Yeah. And here's another tip, more so for people who are new, but it's one thing to look around for things that catch your eye and to look them up. But even there, a lot of people will do that for things that maybe it's not their main interest, but they kind of have like maybe a little side interest in it. But you have to make sure you're also looking things up that you might not care about at all. You might have zero interest in it whatsoever. A perfect example for me was when I just bought that big stamp lot. I just told you, I never collected stamps when I was a kid or an adult. It's something I was, kind of curious about, more of a curiosity. It was the first ever big stamp haul that I ever got, but I wanted to learn more about it. And like I said, I learned a ton through doing that. But that's a perfect example and I picked that up, by the way, through an ad for comics and other vintage items. And so the guy just mentioned with the comics, which is the main theme, hey, I have these stamps. He said, he's like, are you going to be interested? I said, probably not, but bring them along and we'll see. And when he offered that whole tub to me for $40, I said, all right, I got to just at least, even if I don't make any
can't go wrong.
Yeah, I said, I can't go wrong on that. Even I knew I couldn't go wrong on that. And I said, at least it's worth it just for the education.
Definitely. Stamps are a whole breed. I didn't realize we were on so long. I don't, it's already 8:25. So we're about 25 minutes past what I had originally planned on doing. Maybe we should do some final thoughts or something here at this point.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't know what my schedule is always like that, but I don't know,
No, I've had a crazy few days. This is my third straight night of live shows. So
you were on the one channel, then you had your battle and tonight. Yep.
Yeah, through battle and tonight. So I think I saw no, he wasn't here. But anyway, I guess final thoughts. Well, first of all, Don, I love this show. I talk about it even months in advance. I love doing our Christmas show together. It's yet another it's a culmination of yet another year of a lot of live shows we did together. It's been a crazy year, I think, for everybody. COVID has just affected every single person here in this chat. It's affected us. It's affected our families. It's affected our business. Yet we all still have found a way to get through it for pretty much since the springtime until now. And we're going to have to carry on to the beginning of next year. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We are going to look back at this one day and talk about it. And we're going to be past it at some point. But don't give up. Keep persevering through it. Even though some people I know are struggling with sales and sales are lower and the USPS is a mess right now and everything. All bad things come to an end. All good things come to an end. But this it's not going to be this bad, forever. And we will get past it. And better times are ahead, everyone. So just keep your chin up and set those goals for 2021 and continue to follow Don and myself. And we will try to continue to provide you with some distraction and some hopefully some entertainment and education along the way.
Yeah, thank you too for coming on, Tom. I always like to have them on. We do the Christmas show. We'll have another one next year, I'm sure. I had plans for something a little different for Christmas, but my time has just been horrendous this past quarter here. So I got a lot of comments going on. I'm sorry I'm not great on the comments while the live show is going on. I do apologize. If you haven't hit the like button, I don't think I've said that at all for the entire hour and a half we've been on. We got 162 people on my end. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit that like button. I really like to get up to that 100 mark when we're on. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. A few other things. Patreon again. There is almost an hour long video that I think it's still uploading right now. It will be up tonight. It's got a lot of different things in it. It's philosophy talk. There's going to be a couple different bolos in there for you as well too. And I'll be talking about some of the other stuff going on, the prize for the contest for January. And you're going to start to see some of the forums and stuff start rolling out as well. They'll all be on Dropbox for those in Patreon. So you'll be able to do them without accepting any of the Microsoft terms if you don't wish to do Microsoft. I do apologize for those who didn't want to do Microsoft. I won't do the Microsoft version again on any of those forms again. So anyway, hopefully you took a little something from this. We both seriously try to give you the most honest, sincere, and forthright information we can. One of the reasons I do stuff with Dom is because he is a straightforward person. He's legit. So hopefully you took something from this. Hopefully it was enjoyable. Christmas time is for the family in my book. Obviously you got to make money. So free time for us, what we're doing, we're listing stuff too. So I do thank everybody for coming on. I do thank everybody for the super chats. We got quite a few today. So again, hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're staying safe. And we are going to end it off on there. Thank you all for coming on. I'm sorry we went a little longer than usual, but I do appreciate all the conversation. We will end it there if it will end.